I think Vancouver gets an interesting reputation. The joke is Vancouver is also known as Hongcouver, which is an homage to the fact that there are many folks from Hong Kong. Vancouver, though, is much more than residents from Hong Kong and those who took up shop here.
An organization that can bring together Pan-Asian communities and showcase their culture and showcase their tradition is very important, because normally it happens that when you are on the streets, people think, oh, you are from China. And they may not be from China. They may be from the Philippines or from South Asia, from Malaysia or Thailand. So it's important that people start to recognize the different cultures that make this Vancouver, especially Vancouver, so multicultural.
We find by stressing arts and culture, very natural way to work with people.
Well, I grew up in Vancouver. I'm born and raised in North Van, and I grew up in a mixed household. My mother's of Israeli Jewish descent, and my father's of Japanese Canadian descent. So the joke is I'm Japanese.
I was born up the coast in a small village, and we lived in the First Nations part of town because that's where my dad's oil dealership was. So my friends were all First Nations kids, and I knew that there was quite a bit of inequality in those days, and so and I wanted my friends to feel equal.
Growing up in North Vancouver, which was primarily a Caucasian neighborhood, there were some Persian students as well, but primarily Caucasian, and I definitely felt like I was an oddball out. I didn't know whether to sit with the Asian students or whether to sit with the Caucasian students. And there were no tables for HAPA people like me, people of mixed descent. And so often I spent time in the band room alone.
The shock to me was when I started school, and we all headed down the road, and my friend said, well, this is where we go into the day school that they had for First Nations kids. You got to go down island. And what? This is nuts, you know. We've been together for all these years, and now I'm supposed to go down there to a different school. And it was events like that that made me realize that, gee, there's some inequality in Canada. So for me, it was a growing experience. And then from there, when we moved down to Vancouver, I was fortunate to go to Britannia High School. And Britannia is a real League of Nations, you know, it was great.
Many of us have history here in Vancouver, but often you can only find out about that history by either attending their own community tours, and there's very little mention of the fact that other groups were also living at that time in Vancouver. And so this is an opportunity for us to do this together. We have many, many diverse communities, and it's very important to ensure that all of us are seen and are visible. I find that when people move here to Vancouver, so not folks that are native or indigenous to Vancouver, people who move from elsewhere, they bring often their culture and food and language with them. But over time, because either they don't feel comfortable or accepted by mainstream non-culture in Vancouver, they tend to adopt this non-culture aspect, and we are losing touch, I think, with a lot of what really means who we are and is our identity.
When you come to a new country, it doesn't matter how you come in as a refugee, as an immigrant, any way. The cultural shock is really, really interesting. You miss your family, you miss the spaces, you miss the friends. And coming here and making new friends and trying to integrate, it's not as simple as we could think. I think that the small traits or the small idiosyncrasies of each country makes it difficult for people to be really feeling part of it.
Vancouver's really changed a lot, especially since the Winter Olympics that were here. There's been so much more diversity and we're much more open. But I can tell you that growing up, and still there's bits of this today, it's a culturally cold society, and one that, as beautiful as it is, isn't warm and very welcoming to folks.
Some of them, some of us, I am an immigrant from China, we feel lonely. I think it's important to have institutions, organizations that actually give us support. More important is the emotional support so that we know we are not alone, and we don't have to lose our past in order to be Canadians. We actually can celebrate our own heritage and our identity, and also being Canadian, being this Canadian identity. So I think organizations are very important in the sense that they bring people together and present cultures, arts, literature, a lot of the things that are very, 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 very beautiful in our cultures, not only Asian cultures, but from all places.
The organizations like Asian Heritage One Society, what they do is to help these immigrants to feel at ease in Canada, and to share with everybody about their cultures, and to be accepted a little bit in a more open way.
Continuing to put on programs together and events that showcase our diversity, I think it's starting to happen. I know it's starting to happen.
The organization would bring everybody together. I find that being involved in the dance, ethnic dance and dance group, I find that without the organization, we can't find each other and form this big performance for festivals and stuff like that. It's hard for us to find each other. So the organization bringing us together is great.
To promote the sharing of cultures and art, it's for the reason that it's not only enriching for us who are, let's say Native Canadians, or we've been here for a few generations, but it's important for newcomers to be integrated, to feel part of our society. It's very rich.
I think that working with so many Asians gave me the opportunity to understand and appreciate more their cultures. We are a model. Canada is a model for the world. Canada, being a multicultural country, is an example of how different people, no matter their color, no matter how they look, no matter where they are coming from, we are all in this together. And that's what makes Canada so special and so important.